There really isn't a good way to talk about what we're doing, but because I'm a Silicon Valley guy, I gotta have a PowerPoint, I gotta have some stats. And so beyond my story, you know, I know you all have a lot of opportunities to give to charities and to participate in things and to devote your time and money, and you know, the economy's not great, so it's just really special that you've been able to come here tonight. But I want to help you feel good about that and help you know that you've made the right decision, right? These are not sponsored by the American Cancer Society, although these are American Cancer Society statistics that I pulled out of other resources and recent press. And it's staggering to me, including when we all raised our hands about the number of people that are directly or indirectly affected by this disease. Wasn't that amazing to see how many hands went up? 12 million people will be diagnosed with the disease in this year. 7.6 million will die. 1 in 8 deaths are related to cancer, and although a lot of other diseases are worthy of research and science and our contributions, that's more than AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria combined around the world. And I worry that maybe it becomes so commonplace that we don't really relate to it until we're hit with a crisis. I know that was our situation and my situation. I can't look at that table. If things continue, and the issue is the increase in population rate, right? By 2030, we're going to have 27 million cases diagnosed in that year and 17 million deaths. Those of us that are in business have to know that cancer is the biggest economic killer in our global economy today. The productivity and the expense that's lost as a result of cancer is bigger than anything else. I didn't know all this before I got sick, right? I was doing my thing. I didn't pay attention. And I feel bad about that. Chronic diseases, here's the big gap, and here's why we're here tonight. Chronic diseases, specifically cancer, heart disease, and diabetes, are 60%, or the cause of 60% of the deaths in the world today. Yet, they receive 3% of the private and public investment into research to their cure. If we could work on cancer and those other two diseases, the impact to the global economy and to our lives and to our families would be enormous. So why me? I mean, that was the big question. That's hit me twice in the last couple of years, and it's like, are you kidding? Right? You know this. When you're told you have cancer, you know, I was 50 plus years old, never been sick, never had a stitch, never had anything. I had a lump in my neck, right? You have cancer. Why me? Right? I'll tell you more about that. But then the next time was when they told me to be an honoree for this. Are you crazy? Yeah? I'm just a guy. I just survived, right? All of you should be honored for helping me. That's the way I felt about it. But what they wanted was, what they helped me understand is that if I could put a face to it, that I would help the cause and help the disease. And actually that resonated with me because over time, what I've learned over the last year in particular, is it's created so many opportunities for me to share my story and to engage with people that want to know, because there is no guidebook, there is no manual, either as a patient or as a victim or as a family member, on what you do when this happens. And I just decided early to be transparent about it, and if you want to understand, if you want to see how this thing works out, you know, let me help. So, you know, I don't want to bore you with my story, but I hope that it helps us personalize it so that we can pay attention before you face the crisis, right? So, you know, all raise your hands, but imagine me, I'm sitting there, I'm shaving, I've got a lump on my neck, and I'm thinking, so what? I got a swollen gland, right? You have cancer. So what happens if you only had 60 days to live? What happens if you couldn't provide for your family? All of a sudden, you could not go to work. Your roles completely changed. You're 100% dependent on your guardian angel, your wife. What happens if you might not see your children's next birthday? Here we go. Right? That's what I want you to pay attention to. Don't wait for a crisis. Help us deal with this and start getting the priorities straightened out. I know for a fact, and I am eternally grateful to everyone here and this table and my friends that have been here and my associates, and it's just incredible. And I wouldn't be here without, you know, 4 things, you know, faith, family, friends, and science. I don't want to forget about the family, right? The family, we have to understand, it's not just the patient. Everybody's affected by this serious disease. Tremendous load that was put on my family. If I didn't have their support, if I didn't have Michelle with me every day, I wouldn't be here today. If I didn't have my sisters and my mother voting for me, I wouldn't be here today. If I didn't have my friends and their support and their prayers and their good vibes, I wouldn't be here today. Faith is something that everybody has to individualize, and I understand some of us believe, some of us don't. I want to talk about that just in the context of the combination of faith and science, because today, you know, it's really about the science and the research, right, that we're trying to fund with the American Cancer Society to earlier diagnosis, better treatment, more survival, more birthdays. But if you were told, if you flip a coin, 50-50, you're going to live or die. That's what I was told. Right? Maybe. I remember the oncologist telling Michelle that. She was asking her all these leading questions to say, he's going to be all right, isn't he? Yeah, he's going to be fine, right? Because he said, listen, if you're worried that you're going to lose your husband, that probably could happen. That was the end of her. Right? We had to readjust from that moment on. Right? So just put that into perspective. And then the science is, we got to basically kill you to make you better. So not to sensationalize that, but this is the famous mask. So this is my picture, I'm proud to show. So without this science, without this research, and I'll tell you more about that, without that, I wouldn't be here. And that's why we're here tonight. But how many of us are claustrophobic? How would you like to have your head bolted to the table for 45 minutes to an hour every day for 7 weeks? That's what happens here. So, you see those little targets on the side of my face? And I actually have 3 little tattoos across my chest. That's because of the science, which is unbelievable to me. But the science of radiation technology that allows you to be able to do a 3D image of the interior of my head and neck and target the radiation so I'm being burned from the inside out. Right? But if it wasn't for this science, and this is one of the most ridiculous things I could ever go through and wouldn't want anybody else to have to do. But for 45 minutes or an hour, you're locked to the table and you can't move. That's where the faith part comes in too, by the way. Because you got to have some belief that you're going to come out the other side. So the faith and the science has to go together. But we need the science to be able to get us there.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is there a God?
Yes. Yes.
Guess what?
I'm not here to do that, but I'd be happy to take that offline with you.
No, that's a question. Is there a God?
From my experience, the answer is absolutely yes, but I respect that we all have different feelings about that.
Don't need to say anything more. Thank you.
Thank you. By the way, while you're getting burned from the inside out and you can't taste and you can't swallow and you can't eat, and so you drop 30 pounds and then you start to can't be able to breathe, and the only reason you're surviving is because you're on a morphine patch. Let's poison you with chemotherapy, right? So when people come to you in relation to the faith question with eye protection gloves and gowns and a hazmat bag, and they want to put that into your veins, you've got to believe in something. You've got to believe that the science is going to do its job and that you're going to come out the other side. And there's all kinds of bad things that happen to that, but guess what? It's better than the alternative. Right? I'm here. Yeah? So it comes full circle to why me? You know, I don't know. You're in the middle of it, you do what you have to do, you rely on your faith, family, and friends, and you got to get through this thing. But I have an opinion because so many things have happened to me since then where I've had this opportunity to help people through this process, that it's part of the plan. To be able to communicate what's going on here and to help this process. And to help us all figure out how to have more birthdays. Mine's coming up in September, by the way. But I am the lucky one. I choose to believe, and I have every evidence, both medically and miraculously, that I am through this process. I am not technically out of the woods. I go to Stanford every 6 to 8 weeks. I have a scope put down my nose through into my throat. You know, I have PET scans once or twice a year. You know, there's all kinds of that kind of stuff. But as a true miracle is what I had in my neck disappeared. This man, Jack, who was already mentioned, unfortunately is still doing the fight. Right? And we know him from being our food and beverage manager. He and I are not close personal friends, but I relate to him 100%. I know exactly where he's at, as well as some of you that have been there do as well. And that man has gone through hell. And you know, he put a letter in your guide, in your program tonight, and I won't read the whole thing, but certainly the relevant part is, I feel that the message I would really like to convey today is that of immense gratitude. And you got to get your head around that, because that's exactly the way I felt. Because when you don't have it anymore, when you may not be alive anymore, the idea of gratitude is not an abstract thing. It's not this ethereal deal that we read about in The Secret, you know? It's because we get to wake up the next day and see our family and our daughters and our children, right? Throughout my personal journey, I resolved to always maintain hope through it all. My faith, family, friends, and the entire community have helped me since the beginning, even during the most difficult times. It is through the care and concern, exhaustive efforts, and of course the financial generosity of people like you who are working together to build and maintain hope for so many who desperately need it. Despite the many advances, there is a lot to learn and do to achieve the dream of eliminating the dreadful disease we know as cancer. On behalf of myself, my family, and our entire community, thank you, thank you, thank you, and God bless all of you. Thank you.